Thank you for joining with our Abhidhamma class in English, brought all the way to you over Zoom by Millava Dharma Vijayarama Temple in Sri Lanka. And we will start in a few minutes, so please bear with us. In the meantime, if you do have any questions that you would like to present to our esteemed teacher, you can scan the QR code that appears on the screen, or you can use the link that I'm sharing. It's almost time to start our class, Reverend Sir. So I will welcome all our listeners who are with us, either on Zoom or on YouTube Live, and anyone who's listening to us in the future through the YouTube video that would be available on the Sangakaya Foundation YouTube channel. So as always, we have our most learned who has expertise in Abhidhamma and Suttas, our esteemed teacher, most venerable Buluwala Ratanasiri Thero. I now hand over to Reverend Sir to start our fourth Abhidhamma class in the second cycle, Abhidhamma for Beginners. Over to you, Reverend Sir.
Good afternoon. Let's start our Abhidhamma lesson today. Do you know what are the subject area that we were discussing in our last sutta lesson? Can you remember? We are discussing under ultimate reality consciousness, Chitta, sense spare consciousness. So we were discussing about sense spare consciousness. How many sense spare consciousness are there? There are 54 sense sphere consciousness. You know, we divided those 54 consciousness into 3 categories: unwholesome, akusala 12, non-root, ahetuka 18, and beautiful Kamasobana 24. In our last lessons, we discussed wholesome, unwholesome consciousness, 12 unwholesome consciousness, functions of the unwholesome consciousness. Then we discussed about the non-root consciousness, 18 non-root consciousness. So today we are going to discuss about beautiful consciousness, Kama Sobana Chitta. This beautiful consciousness have been analyzed into 2024. Somanassa Sahagata Jnana Sampayutta Asankarika. In that way, they have been analyzed into 24. And on the basis of non-root, on the basis of non-greed, on the basis of non-delusion, on the basis of non-anger, and on the basis of knowledge, and asankarika, sasankarika, unprompted and prompted. So regarding all those things, those 24 beautiful consciousness have been analyzed. These beautiful consciousness arise due to 10-fold of wholesome activities. When the person engaged in 10-fold of wholesome activities, Dasa Punyakriya. When the person engaged in those 10 wholesome activities, there arise those 24 beautiful consciousness. Let's see how they arise. What are the 10 fold of wholesome activities? Dhanam, Silancha, Bhavana, Pattipattanu, Modana, Vijavattha, Pachayanto, Desana, Sudhijitiju. Dhanam is donation, as you know. When person engage in donations, there arise such a beautiful consciousness. Dana. You can engage in donation in various ways. When you engage in such donations, there are varieties of donation, Abhidhamma, Amisadana. In that way, Dhammadana. When you engage in all those donations, there arises that beautiful consciousness. You can donate food to the bhikkhus and the poor or other ones, and you can arrange sermon or Dhammadesana to deliver Dhamma. There's also a donation, Dhamma Dana. In such case, you arise those 24 wholesome consciousness, beautiful consciousness, dana, sila. When you develop your morality, when you abstain from killing, and when you abstain from stealing and sexual misconduct and so on, when you abstain from lying, when you abstain from frivolous speech, in that way there arise those beautiful consciousness. Bhavana, when you develop meditation, samatha bhavana and vipassana bhavana, when you develop those kind of meditations, there arise these beautiful consciousness. As the result of karma, there arise dana, sila, bhavana, patti, pattanu, modana. When you invoke merit to your relatives, when you invoke merit to other one, there arise those beautiful consciousness. When you expect merit given by others, in that case also there arise those beautiful consciousness. Patti Pattan Modana, Viyavat means when you perform some duties in the temples, in the meditation centers, in monasteries, you go to the monasteries and you sweep the sweep the floor of the shrine room, and in that way you can clean the altars and statues, and you can sweep or you can clean the temple. In that way, when you engage in those activities, there arise those beautiful consciousness. When you engage in any meritorious deeds, you have to perform so many duties there. They are called Veyavat. When you engage in those things, activities, there arise those 24 beautiful consciousness. Patti Patthanu Modana Vidyavatta Patayantu Apatayan. Apatayan means when you serve elders, when you help your parents, father and mother, when you worship, when you respect your father and mother, when you serve elders, when you respect elders, then when you respect the noble ordained ones like bhikkhus, there arise those beautiful consciousness. Vejavatta apatayana, patayantu, desana sutiditiju. And when you deliver Dhamma desana, when you deliver Dhamma speech or Dhamma desana, when you engage in Dhamma discussions, there arise those beautiful consciousness. When you listen to Dhamma desana, when you listen to Dhamma discussions, or when you read Dhamma books, there arise those beautiful consciousness. And desana suddhidittidu. Suddhidittidu means when you develop right views in your mind, when you develop sammaditthi, right views in your mind, there arise those beautiful consciousness. That is one way of arising a beautiful consciousness. There is other way around, arising the beautiful consciousness. It is abstaining from tenfold of unwholesome activities. Dasa akusala. When you abstain from dasa akusala, there arise those beautiful consciousness. Now these consciousness, beautiful consciousness, are the wholesome consciousness. There is no greed, there is no delusion, there is no anger. So these are called wholesome consciousness. When you abstain from killing, there arise those consciousness. It arises through your five faculties. Let's understand first what is kusala. What is the definition they have given for kusala? In Nathasalini, Buddha has given definition for kusala. Kusala in the sense that destroy akusala. Kusala that suppress akusala. Kusala that cuts akusala. That is called kusala. So we can understand kusala is more powerful than akusala. Always kusala suppress akusala. So kusala is more powerful than akusala. When you engage in meritorious activities, let's see how this consciousness arises. Before that, I would like to explain those 24 consciousness. These 24 consciousness have been synthesized in 3 categories. They are known as wholesome, kusala, vipaka, resultant, kriya, functional. Wholesome, kusala, 8 in number. Resultant, vipaka, again 8 in number. Functional, kriya, again 8 in number. Shall we study those consciousness? Those three categories of consciousness. They are the same one. The wholesome, there are 8. This wholesome consciousness are the consciousness that the people or person engage in meritorious deeds or abstaining from akusala. There arise these 8 wholesome consciousness. Due to the result, as a consequence of those karma, now these consciousness are karma, because Chetanaham bhikkhave kammam vadami, chetayitva kammam karoti, kayena vachaya manasa. When person do activity in bodily, verbally, and mindly, then there arise those consciousness as karma. And then there is karma vipaka also. The karma vipaka also the consciousness. Due to the karma vipaka, consequence of karma vipaka, there arise again those consciousness. So we call that vipaka resultant also the same one, same meat. Can you understand it now? When person engage in karma, now these wholesome consciousness are karma. When chetanaham bhikkhave kammam vadami, they are karma. Karma has a result. Then as a result, there arise those resultant consciousness. They are 8 in number. The same one, the same consciousness. Then functional kriya. They are also the same terms are there. Somanasagata, jnana sampayukta, asankarika, sasankarika, in that way. They are same, functional. What is the difference of this functional consciousness? This is the difference. These functional consciousness arise in the Arahant. You know, Arahant, they have ceased their karma. They have ceased kusala. They have ceased karma. Ceased. They have ceased karma. They have ceased kusala. Stopped. But Arahant, they live in the society. They engage in meritorious activities like respecting the Buddha and respecting the triple gems and worshipping and developing Sapta Buddhanga Dhamma and memorizing 37 enlightenment factors. They memorize and they perform some meritorious activities. But those meritorious activities, they do not get result. There is no result, no karma vipaka there. Because when Arahant, engage in those activities, when they engage in those activities, they have ceased their ignorance, and they don't have mental formation, and they don't have, after that, they don't have consciousness. In that way, they don't have karma result. They engage in kusala karma, but they don't get result. So when Arahant, when they engage in meritorious deeds, there arise some consciousness, those beautiful consciousness, and they are called functional, no result. And that is the difference. Now these 24 beautiful consciousness, they have been divided into 3 categories: wholesome, resultant, and functional. And it is very easy to understand these 24 beautiful consciousness. Now we'll try to memorize or try to keep in our mind those 8 beautiful consciousness, sense sphere beautiful, wholesome consciousness. What is the first one? Somanassa sahagata jnana sampayutta asankarika kusala chitta. Somanassa sahagata jnana sampayutta asankarika kusala chitta. Then the second one, there is one thing. Asankarika becomes sasankarika. That is the only thing. You can memorize it. You can keep in your mind. The second one is Somanassa sahagata jnana sampayutta sasankarika. Sasankarika. Then third one, Somanassa sahagata jnana vipayutta. Jnana sampayutta becomes their jnana vipayutta and asankarika. Next one, Somanassa sahagata jnana vipayutta sasankarika. Asankarika becomes sasankarika. Then Somanassa is changed into upekha. Upekha sahagata jnana sampayutta asankarika kusala chitta. Asankarika. Asankarika kusala chitta. Then next one, upekha sahagata jnana sampayutta sasankarika kusala chitta. And next one, upekha sahagata jnana vipayutta. Sampayutta becomes vipayutta. Sasankarika kusala chitta. Next one, upekha sahagata jnana vipayutta asankarika kusala chitta. Last one, upekha sahagata jnana vipayutta sasankarika kusala chitta. Now you can understand the changing of these 8 consciousness. The power of result is become less up to 8. 4 of these consciousness are Somanassa sahagata. 4 of these consciousness are upekha sahagata. And now, let's try to understand the English term of this consciousness. One consciousness accompanied by joy. Joy means somanasa sahaga. Accompanied by joy, associated with knowledge. Knowledge is their understanding. And unprompted. Unprompted means spontaneously, without motivation, without enforcing, without encouraging. That is now one consciousness accompanied by joy. Now think of when a person engages in meritorious deeds, how this consciousness appears. Now suppose that you are going to donate some food to the bhikkhus. Suppose now you are going to offer some food to bhikkhus. Somanassa sahagata jnana sampayutta asankari. When you offer this food to the bhikkhus with joy, in happy mood, after looking at the bhikkhus, you feel some sympathy, there arise some pleasant thoughts in your mind. You are happy of that person. That is Somanassa Sahagata. You are very happy to donate this food to the bhikkhus. Somanassa Sahagata. Accompanied by joy. And associated with knowledge. What is the knowledge there? Knowledge is that you know, if I offer food to the bhikkhus, I gather merit. Because of this merit, because of this karma, because of this kusala karma, I will have good result in my future life. I can be born in heaven, or I can counteract my craving. In that way, you have the knowledge. That is the associated with knowledge. And unprompted, you donate this dana, food, spontaneously. It just arises in your mind without motivation, without enforcement, without motivation. You are not enforced by others to donate food to the bhikkhus. You want, instinctively you want, so you offer, and that is unprompted. When you offer food to the bhikkhus, completing all those conditions, joy, knowledge, unprompted, then there arises this powerful first wholesome consciousness. Somanassa Sahagata, Jnana Sampayutta, Asankarika. It is the most powerful consciousness, wholesome consciousness. And when you donate your food to the bhikkhus, because of motivation, some people say you to give food, or some compel you to give some food to the bhikkhus. But you have joy or happiness to do it, and you know the merit and result, karma and vipaka there, you know all those things. But you does not engage in spontaneously. So there arise that second wholesome consciousness. One consciousness accompanied by joy associated with knowledge prompted. In that way now, when you come to the third one consciousness accompanied by joy dissociated. That means when you offer food, you are in happiness, accompanied by joy, but you don't have knowledge. You don't believe in karma and vipaka. You don't believe, or you don't have idea or knowledge about karma and vipaka. But you does it spontaneously. So there arise those consciousness, the third consciousness. In that way, the wholesome consciousness arise according to the chetana. Now, you know, chetanaham bhikkhave kammam vadami. Chetitva kammam karoti. Chetana is volition. When you does meritorious activities, volition is there in the consciousness that manipulate, that control or manipulate your consciousness. That's how these varieties of 8 wholesome consciousness arise there. Upekka Sahagata, when you donate without joy or without worry, there is equanimity, upekka, no joy or worry, but you donate. There you gather some merits, wholesome consciousness, but they are not more powerful than the first one. In that way, you can understand, according to the engagement of volitions in the consciousness, the result may be changed in that way. That is the wholesome consciousness. Then resultant consciousness is also same. Resultant consciousness. When you engage in meritorious deeds, as a result, karma, the consciousness are the karma and vipaka. So, as the consequences or as result, there arise those consciousness as result. If you arise those consciousness, you are tend to engage in meritorious deeds again. You again and again you engage in meritorious activities from birth to birth. From birth to birth, in the circle of birth, you engage in those offering again and again because of this karma and vipaka. According to the karma, there arise these consciousness as result. Because of that resultant consciousness, you are tend to engage in again those in meritorious deeds. That's how you goes. That's how you go on the circle of birth, doing meritorious deeds. Now this is the function of the wholesome consciousness. In Attasalini and Dhammasangani, there is large descriptions about this wholesome consciousness, how it arises, what are the factors there arise. Now this wholesome consciousness, it is developed up to samatha and vipassana. Samatha and vipassana, it is developed this wholesome consciousness. So kusala or wholesome can be known as samatha and vipassana. Samatha and vipassana. In Dhammasangani, there describes how this consciousness arise with the meritorious factors, meritorious mental factors. When person engage in meritorious deeds through his five faculties, there arise those consciousness. One of those faculties or engaging on all those faculties, there arise those consciousness. Now, when a person engage in meritorious deeds, they are first through the eye or through ear, nose, there happens the passa, the contact, impression there. Passa, due to that passa, contact happens, those of the faculties combining with consciousness. In eye, there is a sensitive part. In ear also, there is a sensitive section. Nose, tongue, they are also same. In this sensitive section is known as the door of the faculty where contacts happen. To happen contact, passa, impression, there must be consciousness and sensitive section of the door and the object. When you engage in meritorious deeds, you first you have this passa, the impression, because of the wholesome object. You contact or you have passa, impression, there arise Vedana. There arise Vedana, this is called feeling. Then you understand, you recognize that feeling is called sanya, perceptions is there. There arise perceptions. Because of Vedana or feeling, there arise perception. Then Chetana. Chetana, volition. Chetana is the mental factor that function in kamma. Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami chetayitra kammang karoti kayena vachaya manasa. This volition is there arise, chetana. Then ekaggata, pointedness of mind. There arise the pointedness of mind. Then within the faculty of vitality, faculty of the Jivita India, that is some this ekaggata that occurs for some time because of Jivita India. And Manasikara, again it is called the consciousness, Manasikara, and there may be arise vitakka, thought conceptions, vitakka, vitakka, that is you welcoming or expecting or you memorizing. Vitakka and vichar also discursive thinking, you investigating you investigate the object, vichar, and piti, there arise joy, accompanied with joy. In that way, the piti is there, joy, and sukha, you feel happiness there when you engage in meritorious activity. When you offer flower to the Buddha, when you offer sound for the Buddha, you appear, you feel some joy, piti is there. Then sukha, you feel some happiness in your mind. So many mental factors arise in this wholesome consciousness up to kayuddhugata, chittuddhugata, kaya kammanyata, chitta kammanyata, kaya pagunyata, chitta pagunyata, kayuddhugata, chittuddhugata, and samadhi, samatha. In that way, so many mental factors up to vipassana, they arise in this consciousness, in beautiful conscious, wholesome consciousness. Somanasa sahagata, jnana sampayutta, asankarika. If we take this first wholesome consciousness, begins with passa, impression, and there arise passa, vedana, sanya, chetana, ekaggata, jivita indriya, manasikara. In that way, there arise those factors up to vipassana, samatha and vipassana. So this, if the person, but every person can't create those factors in their wholesome consciousness. When they do meritorious deeds, every person can't perform or create those factors in their consciousness. When the person does it completing all those conditions, there arise and those factors up to vipassana. What is vipassana? Vipassana is understanding tilakkana in conditional things, sankhara, anitya, and dukkha, anatma. Ultimately, while engaging in this meritorious deeds, he understands tilakkana, anitya, dukkha, anatma. Anitya means impermanence. Anitya. Dukkha is unsatisfactory, suffering, and anatma is non-soul. So there arise that knowledge. That is the knowledge associated with knowledge. So knowledge is developed after that. That depend on the person. That depend on the person and depend on the volitions in the consciousness. Now, people can understand, some people can understand donation. By donating, we can counteract our craving, tushna, the greed. So that is the understanding up to vipassana. Vipassana, that is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-soul. That is the function of the wholesome consciousness. Now, in Atthashalini, there are some legends. There are 2 or 3 legends to show how powerful this wholesome consciousness, sense is pure, beautiful, wholesome consciousness. The first one, Somanasa Sahagata, Jnana Sampayutta, Asankarika. As I told you, if the person can develop up to vipassana, it is more powerful. There is 2 stories. I will tell you this story. In Sri Lanka, there was a young one. His name was Kakkana. Kakkana had a brother, and his mother was ill one day. A physician came and he examined the patient and told the members of the family, to cure your mother, I want hare meat of hare, raw meat of hare, rabbit's meat. The physician said, if you provide me rabbit meat, I can make drugs for your mother and cure your mother. Then Kakkana's brother called in Kakkana and told him, brother, you go to the paddy field, then you can see their rabbits and you can catch the rabbit and take home to cure our mother. The Kakkana, he went there to catch the rabbit. He found the rabbit. The rabbit ran, but the rabbit he was trapped in a bush. Then Kakkana caught the rabbit and he began to think why I killed this rabbit to cure my mother. To cure my mother, what is the use of killing this rabbit? Because the Kakkanas has a tradition that abstain from killing animals. They are good farmers. Their fathers and forefathers, they did not kill any animal. So Kakkana began to think, that is, he began to arise his wholesome consciousness. Passa is there, contact, impression arise there due to that rabbit. So he developed his abstaining from killing. He developed his wholesome consciousness, abstaining from killing, and he began to think in deep conscience. Rabbits, that is the life of this animal. Why I get this life? To cure my mother, to cure my mother's life. By thinking, and he developed his consciousness, wholesome consciousness, up to vipassana. Phassa, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Ekagrata. In that way, he developed mindfulness, samatha, and up to vipassana. He thinks now this life and that life, my mother's life and this rabbit's life. There is vipassana, the thought of vipassana there. Then Kakkana released this rabbit. Released this rabbit and said, you go and you enjoy your life with your family members. And Kakkana went his home without a rabbit. Then his brother asked, then the Kakkan explained, I caught a rabbit, but I felt that to release because we haven't killed animals. So I released the rabbits, and Kakkan goes to his mother, and he memorized, that is, he get the power of that consciousness, and he wish to cure his mother because of that kusala karma, because he released the rabbit. Then what happened? His mother was cured. That is one story. There is another story. One farmer, he observed 5 precepts from Bhikkhu Buddharakkhita, and he went to his paddy field and he began to plow his paddy field. After plowing, he had lost one of his buffalo, so he went to find out in search of this buffalo. When he was searching the buffalo, a pigeon, big, long animal, snakes, pigeon, he bind this farmer. The pigeon tightened his binding. When he tightened his binding, a lot of pains there arise. And then that farmer had the axe in his hand. He felt like top the pigeon with this axe. But again he thought, I have observed 5 precepts, abstaining from killing animals. I have observed. So he began to think in deep, or he began to develop this first consciousness, Somanatsa Sahagata, Jnana Sampayutta, Asankarika. When the pigeon tightened his body, he felt like to chop with his axe. But he did not like to kill this animal because he has observed 5 precepts. Then what happened? He developed this consciousness up to vipassana, as I told you. Passa Vedana Sanya Chetana Ekaggata Jivita Indriya Manasikara, in that way, Kayuddhagata, Chittuddhagata, Kaya Kammanyata, Chitta Kammanyata, Kaya Pagunyata, in that way they developed up to vipassana. And what did the farmer do? He threw away his axe. He threw away his axe because if he has axe in his hand, he is tend to chop or kill that animal. So he threw away his axe. Then what happened? His consciousness is more powerful. That pigeon felt it and he unbinded and released the farmer. That is the one story. That shows the power of the wholesome consciousness. Now you can understand, but such consciousness can't be developed every person. It depends on the person, depend on the volitions, depend on his attitude. So such is the wholesome consciousness. I think time is up now. Let me stop my lesson with this. Thank you for listening to me. Blessing of the triple gems be showered upon you. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation.
Much merit to you, Reverend Sir. And I asked this question from our dear Dhamma listeners. If you have any questions regarding on what we learned today or from our previous classes, you're welcome to unmute your microphone and voice your questions. You can also send us the questions at any time using the Google form, which you can access through the QR code here. And I've also shared the link on the chat here, which I will do again. This is for your future reference. You can keep the form and you can send questions to us at any point. So if you do have any questions, so just to answer one question, abstaining, refraining, they are more or less the same meaning. Trying not to do something.
Yes.
Bante, that abstaining and refrain equal meaning is there.
Yes, abstaining is not doing. Restraining is different. When you try to obstruct your thoughts, that is restraining. When the person engages in self-mortifications, there is restraining in the mind. The abstaining is different. That is you preventing. You prevent it. You stay without doing it. Abstaining, killing means you don't kill. Abstaining, stealing, you never steal. You abstain.
Just
abstain, yeah.
Reverence and Reverence again who asked the question. Restraining and refraining are two different words. So refraining is the same as saying you are abstaining. Restraining is a different meaning where you try to kind of limit yourself and not do something. We have another question just posted here. Explain about ahetuka kriya chitta. Ahetuka kriya chitta, which we discussed last.
We discussed in our last session. Can we have the slide?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Just let me quickly share it. So that is
Pekasahagata Panchadvara Vajjanachita Somanasahagata Manodvara Vajjanachita and Hasitupada Chitta. We discussed when it arrives in the Arahant mind, when the response to the objects outside, there arise this Manodvara Vajjana. When the response through the faculties to the object, they do not have attachment, any attachment there. When he adverting his five senses, there is no attachment in Arahant. So there it does not arise the result of karma there. Upekka Sahagata Panchadvara Vajjana. then it is accompanied by equanimity. There is no joy. There is no worry or joy. Then second one is Pekka Sahagata Manodvara Vajjana Sita. That is when Arahant contact with the object, there again the shadow of this object falls upon the Bhavanga Chitta consciousness. You know, there is a Bhavanga Chitta, Bhavanga consciousness, that is the main consciousness. The shadow of this contact, it falls on this Bhavanga Chitta. It is called Upekka Sahagata Manodvara Vajjana Chitta. Now, in Atthasali, there is an example when a bird stay in the branch, the bird comes flying and he stop in the branch, then the branch bend down. If there is a pond or water near them, there the shadow of that birds appear in water. In that way, when the Arahant takes objects through his five faculties, the shadow of this object, the contact, there appears in his Bhavanga Chitta. That is called Manodvara Vajjana Chitta. Arahant, they don't develop attachment there because they don't have craving. In that way, the Arahant, they respond to the society when they live. Next one is the Hasitupada Chitta. It's also arises in Arahant. When they laugh, when they smile. It is not a laugh. It does not give sound. It just open his lips. And that is Hasitupada Chitta. That's how I can explain those three non-root functional consciousness. Ahetuka Kriya Chitta. This consciousness arises in Arahant, not in the normal persons.
Bante Teruvan Saranai.
Thank you.
Bante Teruvan Saranai. Can you get me?
Teruvan Saranai.
Yes. Two out of these chittas, I heard it can be occurred in the Prutajana or normal people. I mean, Panchadvara Varjana and Manodvara Varjana, except the Hasitupada. That I have heard only the Hasitupada is arises in the mind of the Arahant. The other two chittas is common to other people as well as.
Sometimes also other people also can produce those two consciousness. You are correct. Yes. That is the person who developed his meditations up to great level. Always there's this functional consciousness appears in the mind of the Arahant.
Also, the ahetuka means Bhante. There is no loba.
Ahetuka means there is no greed, no delusions, no anger. That is called ahetuka.
It's like a tree.
Kriya means no result. So this Arahant, they don't produce a result to come.
It's like a tree without root.
Not just like the tree without root, non-root. Yes, without roots. Without roots. Now roots are here called roots are greed, delusion, and anger. Those are the roots.
Yes, yes.
Roots are not that tree has roots. It's different. Here the mental factors, roots.
Yes, Nirashaji.
I was just going to say, yes, we learned about the 12 unwholesome sense sphere consciousnesses, which are based on lobha, dosa, moha. So there is a root cause. The root cause for those consciousnesses are lobha or dosa or moha. So if there is no root, then we can say non-root or rootless or ahetuka. Hetu means with a cause. Ahetu means without a cause. That's how I understood it, Reverend Sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your questions, and I hope the rootless consciousness and rootless function consciousness is made clear now, and it is time for us to end our session. So what I would like to, if you do have any further questions, please feel free to write to us, and we will definitely respond.
Hello.
And yes, go ahead, Mr. Sankar.
Yeah. So this I took Kriya Chitta arise in the normal Puthujan also because of their dreams or maybe just thinking about the past. So that is same as the first two Ahetuk Kriya Chitta, thinking about the past.
No, I don't think they are related. So what I understand is that ahetuka kriya chitta, in order to have those types of consciousness, you have to develop your wisdom to such a great extent. So usually it is the arahants who would have those types of consciousness, or unless you are a person who had developed and reached a very high stage in your vipassana meditation, maybe the first two, but the last one is definitely when you have attained a stage of arahantship. So they are not related to our past or future thinking. Am I right?
So
Yes.
normal Puthujan, normal persons thinking about the past, then with which type of consciousness will work on this?
Oh, good question. Okay, the question, Reverend Sir, is when we as normal people, our mind wanders into the past, and what kind of consciousness is working when we are thinking about the past? I would say it is a result of one of the mulas, lobha, desa, or moha, but maybe a Reverend Sir can explain it more.
Oh, that's happened due to the result of karma also. Because of that contact, there may be some contact. Because of that contact, you begin to think your past. You memorize. That is, you recollect. That is, you memorize it, your consciousness. I think there is no connection with this here.
So it could be out of those 12 unwholesome consciousnesses, any of those 12 unwholesome consciousnesses, and those consciousnesses are probably triggered by maybe like earlier when there is contact with something that will direct that thought into the past or recall your memories. So so I would say, as lay people, we are subject to those 12 unwholesome consciousness from moment to moment every time. And unless we truly engage in our meditation practice, develop our concentration and vipassana, then we are most unlikely to have those beautiful ahetuka or rootless functional consciousnesses.
Teruvan Saranai, that one of our beloveds asked about the question, Manodwara Varjana, does that there is a connection in between our early memories? So I believe myself there is a connection. So it's definitely through our eye, ear, those faculties, we take photocopies. That is in the Chetasika Sanya, it copied there. Then throughout of that Manodwara Varjana, we reflect it. I believe that according to my knowledge. Thank you.
Okay.
So, may I worship Bhante?
Okay, you are correct.
Right. I would like to worship Bhante. Dhammena nena mata siddha mudachitena buddhadi vattu gata chitta pasaditena tera sabho ratane siriyatindenato dighayuko bhavatu sadhu samidda chitto. Bhante, wish you long life and you may attain great nibbana in this very life in the name of merits done by my order Sasanika life. Thank you very much for Nirasaji and everybody who joined this session.
I also share my merits. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, and much merit to all our listeners. And thank you for raising the questions. Good food for thought. And I hope when we start talking about, or when our reverends start explaining about mental factors, we can have more clarity on what we learned today. So thank you once again, and much merit to you, reverends, our esteemed teacher Bulwala Ratanasiri Thero. I will end today's session, and are we meeting next Saturday, which is Christmas? If there are any special events in Sangakai Foundation and the times change, I will post a message. Until then, we will take it as we are meeting next Saturday. If there is a change, we will let you know. I will end today's session now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shall we stop the class now?
Yes. Okay. Ending meeting now.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.